Hi, I'm Jared Smith.
And I'm Jenny Smith, and we're going to continue our How to Become a Gospel Library Ninja series with a deep dive into cross-referencing and linking today. There are two things we're going to cover today: how to create a link in the Gospel Library app, both to a scripture and to material that is not found in the scripture. And then also we're going to describe how you might use cross-referencing during your teaching. So we're going to take cross-referencing and linking one step further and give you a little discussion or description about how you might use this during your lessons and also even in your personal study, I think. So just like in our previous video, Jared is going to be working an Android device and I'm going to be working an iPhone device. Jared's Android device is going to be white with a white background on the other side next to him. And the iPhone device is going to have the black background. That's this one right here that you can see scrolling. That's the one that I'm operating with the black background. We're doing this because the navigation is slightly different and the way that you get to material might be a little bit different, and you need to be aware of that if you're teaching or if you're just learning how to create your own links.
This way you'll get to see it on both iOS and Android and cell phone and tablet.
That's right. We're covering as many bases as we possibly can in as little amount of time as possible because we know your time is valuable. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Jared and I have both already started the Gospel Library app, and today we're going to link Doctrine and Covenants section 63 verses 8 through 12 to Acts chapter 2 verse 4. All right, so to get started, we're both clicking here on the second link that shows the back of one of the old quads, which are my favorite. Then we're both going to click on Doctrine and Covenants. For me, it's over here on the top right. Then we're going to scroll down through this list of section numbers, and I'm going to click on 63. Jared has done the same thing. And here we see our entire section of the Doctrine and Covenants. All right, so you can see, by the way, that some of my text is highlighted already. Jared is logged in to his account and he's looking at his version of the scriptures, and mine is my version of the scriptures, so they're a little bit different. But this is a verse that neither of us have linked yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that. You can see what Jared's doing. Jared, can you describe what you just did?
Sure. I pushed and held until these little handles appear, and then I adjust these little handles to highlight the verses that I want to link from.
I have to say this navigation is a little easier on Android because the handles are a little bit bigger. I'm going to do the same thing to highlight verses 8 through 12 here in my scriptures. I'm clicking and holding on the word verily, and you'll see that I get two little tiny handles up there at the top.
From blue lines with dots on them.
Little blue lines. If I grab the bottom one, the one that's facing down, I can drag that window, that little highlight down, and highlight verses 8 through 12. So you can see the weird little bluish gray highlighting indicates that I've highlighted all of that text.
Now in both cases, once we've highlighted a section, it gives us this little pop-up menu that lets us either mark that or add a note or a tag. In this case, we're going to click the link button because we want to create a link to another section in the Gospel Library app.
Right, the link button looks like two little links of a chain, and underneath it says the link. It's probably hard to see on your screen right now, but for both of it's in the top right of that little pop-up menu dialog that showed up when we highlighted our text. All right, so if we both click link, you're going to see that we both get something different.
That's right. On the Android version, it simply gives you a little search box here so that you can type in what you want to link it to. So in this case, I'm going to start typing Acts because I know I want to link to Acts, and there's Acts in the New Testament. I'll click on Acts. And then I know we want to link to chapter 2. And then it finally pulls up chapter 2 for me so I can finish choosing where my link is going to go.
All right, and for me over here on the iOS version on the black side, I have the same navigation screen that I would have when I was navigating to any scripture. So I've started with basically the front page of the Gospel Library app. I'm going to click on the back of the quad, then I'm going to click on New Testament, I'm clicking on Acts, and then I'm clicking to Acts chapter 2. So now we both have pulled up Acts chapter 2. By the way, just want to mention that you can tell that you're in the link dialog because it says link at the top of the of the dialog window. For me, it's right up here. You can see where I'm wiggling. It starts to kind of wiggle a little bit, starts to kind of scroll down as I'm talking. It's very tiny text on my version. On Jared's, it's a little bit bigger.
Mine's big text at the top. It says select text to link. It's a little quicker.
A little more helpful, a little better instructions over there on the Android side. All right, so now we're going to both select verse 4 right here.
And this is deceptively easy. You don't have to click and hold and drag the little handles to select this one. In this case, you're just clicking, just a single click on a verse, and it will highlight that entire verse for you.
Right, it's a little bit different selection process, but it's super, super easy. Just tap once in the center of the verse that you want to link to. If you decided that you tapped a verse you don't want to link to, tap it again and it unselects. If you'd like to, let's say that you'd like to link to verses 4 and 5, you can just click right in between verses 4 and 5. I'm going to demonstrate here with my screen. And let's say that I also want to select verse 7. Just tap it once and there verse 7 is selected. So you don't have to select verses that are contiguous. You can skip a couple of lines and select some more verses and your cross-reference will still work. Now in this case, all I'm linking to is Acts chapter 2 verse 4. So I've selected only Acts chapter 2 verse 4 and Jared has done the same.
Again, here's one thing that's slightly different on Android versus iOS. On Android, to tell it that, okay, I'm done selecting where this is going to link to, there's a black check mark in the upper right-hand corner. So I'm going to click that. On the iOS version,
there's a little blue text, it's blue on my screen, that says add in the upper right of the link dialog, up here in the upper right-hand corner. So I'm going to click on that to add my link. But we're not finished yet.
We're not finished yet, because in both cases it's given us a little blue, kind of a pill-shaped thing with that destination that says Acts chapter 2 verse 4. But we could go ahead and add additional links here if we wanted to. Now we're not going to in this case. We're done adding links for right now. But you just know that you can add multiple links there at the same time and create a scripture chain.
So what he means is that we could add, say we wanted to link this verse to Acts chapter 2 verse 4 and we wanted to link it to a general conference talk. At this point we could click on general conference, we could download one of the general conference talks, select a portion of that general conference talk and then add that link if we wanted to. And it would show up as a little pill right here. In my case, it shows up under the search bar at the very top of the page. On Jared's page, it just shows up under the link title dialog.
Right above the search bar.
Right above the search bar because Android. But it is possible to make multiple links if you choose to from the same dialog. All right. But again, because computers, right, you're not finished until you click the save button, and I just accidentally closed my window. But Jared's going to click the checkbox, which is moved to the left-hand side now to complete his hyperlink.
Now it's a blue check mark on the left. That means it's going to add whatever links I've added here to that original verse. So I click that checkbox, and now you'll see there's a little link icon over on the right-hand side of Doctrine and Covenants 63 verse 8 there. Looks like two little chains in a link there over on the right-hand side. And that's how I know that there's a link there. If I click that little link icon, it's going to pop up and show me what that's linked to.
So can you talk to us, Jared, while I go ahead and correct my error with my footnote or with my hyperlink? Would you go ahead and describe how you can, some different methods that you can use to pull out footnotes and how to scroll between them and the related content menu, etc.?
Sure. So obviously you see this little link symbol that I showed you on the right hand side. If I click on that, it pulls up a link. If I click on a footnote, any of these words in the text that are highlighted in blue, with a little superscript letter next to them. So for example, at the end of verse 5, I'm going to click on the word obeyed, and that's it's a link to the topical guide to the topic of obedience. So you can do that. Some chapters will have like gospel art associated with them. So like there's this little picture in the upper right hand corner next to where it says section 63, and that's going to bring up either links or pictures or other related content that way. But another way that you can get to related content is,
triple click. That's a triple click, by the way. Maybe that's an important tip to talk to newbies, right? Because apparently Jared didn't know it either. So if your menu disappears, right, like what just happened to Jared, and all you're seeing is this view, what I just put up, where it's a panel with no menus at the top or bottom, what you need to do is triple click. So tap your screen 3 times in quick succession to pull those menus back up. All right, double click, triple click. You know, pick your poison. Anyway, you got the idea. Either double or triple click to get the menus back.
And then you can also, once you've got your menus up there, click on these 3 little dots in the upper right-hand corner, and there will be an option there that says related content, and that will pull out the related content slider on the side here, and it will show you all the footnotes, all the links, all the tags, all the annotations, all the gospel art kit, all the links to other sections that have been added. All there together, and as you scroll up and down, you can see all that.
So it's a little different in iPhone, because in the iPhone version, what I have is a little icon in the upper right-hand corner that shows something that looks sort of like an outline. Can you see the little dots and the little lines in the upper right-hand side? If I click on that, I get the pull-out menu for related content that shows all of the links that I've created. It shows all of the notes that I've created, all of the tags that I've created for content. You can see here I've got some custom notes that I made back in 2014, that I've got some tags and stuff. That's probably back from when I was teaching seminary, actually. But all of your information appears in the related content alongside of the church's links and the church's images and the church's annotations. So very, very valuable information here. Have we talked about how to get to it by just clicking on the link? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Okay, good. All right, that works the same in iOS as well. If you want to pull it out to the side, you can get there by just clicking on the hyperlink for the footnote. All right, so if you've seen any of our Ninja videos before, you know that we're super big on switching your phone to Ninja mode. So in order to switch your phone to Ninja mode, you rotate it horizontally, right? They go from vertical to horizontal. So let's show what that looks like in your screen rotation. Right now we're both in portrait mode. We're gonna switch to horizontal to landscape mode. All right, Jared, why is this an advantage when you're talking about cross-references?
Well, there's 2 reasons. One, it's a little, at least for me, it's a little easier to read when it's in landscape mode like this. But the other nice thing is if you pull up your related content, and again, I'm clicking on the 3 dots and then selecting related content, Jenny's just clicking the little outline at the button at the top there in the upper right-hand corner. Now, as you scroll in your main section here, the related content is going to scroll to the content related to whatever verse is at the top of the screen there. So if I scroll down to verse 8 here, it's going to show me that link that we created in verse 8 there.
To Acts chapter 2,
verse 4.
Right. So it's super exciting, right? This is a great method that you can use when you're teaching to keep all of your notes and annotations, hyperlinks, special things you might have saved during other study of the scriptures, right present with you when you're scrolling through your text. So I recommend that you keep your phone in landscape mode when you're doing your personal study or when you're doing gospel teaching. So now Jared and I are going to do a demonstration where we go and show you how you might use the cross-referencing during an actual lesson. Like, what is the practical application? When is the chance that you might have to demonstrate to your students something that is both skill acquisition, but less skill acquisition and more practical application for creating cross-references. So we're both going to back out and go right back to the front page. To do that, I clicked on the top menu of the screen. It gave me an option of how far I wanted to back out, and I chose library, so I'm all the way back out at the front page menu.
And I'm back at the front page as well.
All right, so what we're going to do right now is Jared and I are going to go to Doctrine and Covenants section 25, where we're going to talk about the elect lady, who is Emma Smith, of course. So the elect lady scripture is found in Doctrine and Covenants section 25, verse 3. And this is kind of almost like a title that's given to Emma Smith during this first prayer. I don't know why my phone keeps doing that, by the way. It's in sleepy mode. Anyway, Emma is an elect lady. It's a title that she's been given. But if you were talking about this in class, you may want to demonstrate to your students that this prophecy was fulfilled during the during the organization of the Relief Society, and that notes were taken from that fulfilling of prophecy during the first Relief Society meeting. So there are 3 reasons I think that I would use this particular example, and I am specifically talking about Doctrine and Covenants section 25, verse 3, to teach students how to create a link. And the 3 reasons are that first, I want to show students that prophecy gets fulfilled. Second, I want to teach students the importance of citing sources. It's one thing for me to say that the elect lady prophecy was fulfilled. It's another thing for me to be able to say the elect lady prophecy was fulfilled on March 17th, 1842 at the First Relief Society meeting. That's something completely different. It gives a lot of weight to what I'm saying. So I want to teach students how important it is to cite sources. And then third, I want to magnify women's voices and women's experiences. Women's voices and women's experiences are not always, there's not a large volume of them in our scriptures, unfortunately. And this is a chance for you to do a couple of things with your demonstration. First off, it's a chance to show your students that there actually is a women's history section in the Gospel Library app. 2, to get them to download it so that those quotes and information on women actually show up in their searches when they use their Gospel Library app. And then also so that whenever a student is using this scripture in the future, that they can be directed to a woman's voice and women's documentation, women's history, so that they can see that women played a part in the restoration of the gospel as well. So here we are, I'll step down off my soapbox. And here we are at Doctrine and Covenants section 25, verse 3. So here we are, both of us are going to highlight the text for elect lady. And then we're both going to click the link as we've described before, the link button, the link icon with the little links.
And once again, on Android, it just gives me a search box to tell me what I want to search, what I want to link to. Whereas on iOS, Jenny's got the screen up where she can actually either search or click down through the books to get to where she wants to go. So I'm going to start searching for this, where I'm going to link to the first 50 years of Relief Society. So I can type FIRST, FWY, and there it is, the first 50 years of Relief Society.
Now I could do what Jared just did. You just saw me do it. I clicked in the search bar in my window, and it also pulled up a search bar for me if I didn't know already where the first 50 years of Relief Society was hidden in the Gospel Library app, but I do happen to know that. So I'm going to demonstrate in the upper screen in the iPhone window how you can find that material. So here it is in big view. All right, restoration and church history is over here on the right. It's the one with the Nauvoo Temple shown with the blue background. Clicked on that. You can look at on the bottom row, which is unfortunate, it should be on the top row. The women's history is on the bottom row. Down here at the bottom, you can see Emma Smith's portrait right there. And we have 3 book options here. We have At the Pulpit, which is excellent, First 50 Years of Relief Society, and Daughters of My Kingdom. First 50 Years is the minute book for the Relief Society meeting. So I'm clicking on that, and I've got a table of contents for the first 50 Years of Relief Society.
Okay, so we're both back at the same spot. So now I can choose which section or which chapter in that book I want to link to. And in this case, we're going to do section 1.2.1, which is the March 17th, 1842 minutes, first minutes of the Relief Society day.
All right, so we're both looking at the same thing now. This is the transcription of the first minutes of the Relief Society. This is the famous minute book that Eliza R. Snow carried across the plains. This is the transcript of that record. One of the things I want to point out, though, while we're here is in the upper right-hand corner, and I don't think you can see it. Can you either blow my tablet up or your tablet or your view up? In the upper right-hand corner, you can see a tiny little number. That number, it matches the page number on the print version of this text. Now it happens that I know that that the paragraph that I'm looking for is on page 32. It's because I had the text version of this book, and so I had already made a note in my scriptures that this particular text that was the fulfilling of prophecy of the elect lady was on page 32 in First 50 Years of Relief Society. This was before First 50 Years of Relief Society was available in the Gospel Library app, so that's how I happen to know this. But now you're going to know it too, and you'll be able to find it. And just quickly, if I can jump in here, if I switch over to the tablet, you'll see that in the upper right-hand corner. Again, it's very small. You see that little 28 that tells you it's on page 28 in the printed. And as you scroll up, now when you get to this picture, you see there's a little 29 next to that. That means that picture which is on page 29 of the printed book. And again, as you scroll, those numbers will increase. So this may be a way that you can, if you're in a book like this that doesn't have easy paragraph markers, this might be a way that you can help students find what you're looking for, is by having them look over there on the right-hand side and identify the page number. All right, we're going to scroll down to page 32, which is right here, and then the paragraphs that we want are the paragraphs that begin with President Smith read the Revelation to Emma Smith and the second epistle of John. Jared, would you just go ahead and read those out?
Sure. President Smith read the Revelation to Emma Smith from the Book of Doctrine and Covenants and stated that she was ordained at the time. The revelation was given to expound the scriptures to all and to teach the female part of the community, and that not she alone but others may attain to the same blessing. The second epistle of John, first verse, was then read to show that respect was then had to the same thing, and that why she was called an elect lady is because elected to preside.
Good. So this is the documentation where Emma Smith's elect lady prophecy was fulfilled. So just as before, we've talked about the deceptively easy way to link is that you just tap in the center of the paragraph, select the two paragraphs you want to add to your link. Jared's going to click the right-hand check mark. I'm going to click the add. And then Jared now is going to click on the left-hand check mark. I'm going to click on the save. And we both have hyperlinks now created in our related content. Why don't you blow the tablet up and then you can show what the scrolling looks like.
Okay. So I'll bring it just the tablet a little bit bigger so you can see it. You see as I scroll up and down here on the left-hand side, it scrolls the related content as well. So when I scroll to verse 3, you'll notice that the related content tab now shows that link that we have to the first 50 years of the Relief Society, but it also then shows all the other footnotes and everything from verse 3.
All right, can you blow up the iPhone now, for example? Great, so I have the same thing. As I scroll up, my related content is going to update as I scroll to match whatever verse or footnote that I'm beside. You'll see as I approach verse 3 that the content has showed up. Now in the iOS version, it actually shows the entire content that I've linked to. In the Android version, if Jared wanted to see the entire content, he'd have to click through and it would pull up in his window that entire text. But this is an advantage here of the iOS version, that it shows the entire link right there in the related content section. All right, well, I think we've done a pretty good job here describing how links and hyperlinks work. We've covered how to create a link between scriptures. We've talked about how to create a link from a scripture to something else. And we've talked about how you might be able to use something specific in your scriptures and why it might be worth your time to take time out of your lesson to demonstrate a new skill, but to also teach students the practical application of adding that scripture into their, or adding that link into their scriptures. Because as we've mentioned, it's more than just creating a link for the sake of creating a link. Every time that a student goes back and reads section 25, with their electronic scriptures. They're going to have that revelation, or that they're going to have the transcript of the first Relief Society meeting linked right in their text. They're going to be able to cite and see illustrated that that prophecy was fulfilled, that Emma Smith did become that Emma Smith was an elect lady, that she did lead the Relief Society, that Joseph Smith said that this was a fulfillment of prophecy, that you have the citation and reference for it, and then further, okay, what you're planting in students' heads, that what you're planting in students' head is the idea that they can link to text and then have it forever, right? That reference exists, that they can put their phone in ninja mode, and that every time they're scrolling through their scriptures, that information is going to pop up. That's going to give them a little more information, a little deeper concept, and a little bit of deeper study for their scripture study going forward in the future, for their personal study or whether they're teaching. Do you have anything that you'd like to share, Jared, to wrap that up?
No, just it's always slightly different on Android than it is on iOS, so don't get too caught up in the individual mechanics. It's not that hard to figure out. But go and practice. Try to maybe flip through your paper scriptures, figure out where you created some links or some notes to other scriptures, and try to put those in your electronic scriptures and use that as an exercise to practice this.
And just as a little bit of encouragement too, we found 3 bugs in the Gospel Library app during our first take of this that we'll be reporting to the church's Scripture Gospel Library app development team. So don't get too worked up if things are not working quite how you think they should work. Remember, this is still new technology. It's pretty stable, but as I said, we identified 3 specific bugs that were in the content. So it may not be you. It may be that the software is a little buggy. But even this way, we still recommend that you use Gospel Library app and help your students learn how to use the Gospel Library app too. They're going to need it on their missions. If you've liked this video, please click like. Please also, if you'd like to see more content like this, just Google how to become a Gospel Library Ninja, and you can see other videos in this series as well.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, bye.